The recent Poverty and Inequality Index, credited to National Bureau of Statistics (NBS), has become a safe haven for critics whose psychologists and mental faculties are nothing but hollow biological membrane dominated and controlled by myopic sentiment induced by hate and jealousy. I have read about the thoughts and wishes they share and your conclusions, and have no choice than to describe it as a fulfillment of the saying that from the abundance of the heart the mouth speaketh. Unfortunately, if wishes were horses, beggars might ride. For those that care to know, the concept of poverty index depends on your conception and perception. There are so many indices for the determination of economic development, and it depends on the parameters used. If you use the variables inclusively or exclusively, it will lead to varied outcomes. It must be noted that poverty index is a microcosm of the macrocosm of economic development index. Poverty index is an element in the plethora of economic indices, but the standards, parameters, and yardsticks for the assessment of economic development are many and mutually inclusive. While in our vision as a state, we are looking at economic development indicators such as per capita income, security, mortality ratio, education, empowerment, including women mainstreaming, infrastructure, and environment. The yardstick used by NBS is consumption expenditures. A look at their survey methodology shows that NBS used National Living Standard Survey concept, which has to do with measuring living standard using computer-assisted personal interviewing software on tablet device. The survey is obviously not a perfect model or empirical methodology for the determination of actual economic development of a state or country. At best, I describe it as a neocolonial model for Africa, where questionnaires are used on trial and error basis to determine the consumption expenditures of households. For instance, the basis of using NLSS by NBS is that practically the calculation of consumption expenditures has an advantage of being comparatively easier to calculate, since household income may come from multiple sources across different seasons. But more importantly, households rarely report income with an acceptable degree of accuracy, possibly because of concerns of tax implications or privacy. NBS interprets poverty line as the monetary value of the food and non-food expenditures needed for an individual to achieve a basic level of welfare. This is indeed revealing. Let me state that while the outcome of the NBS statistics may have been dependent on few but generalized survey made on low-income earners who are inevitably present in fast-developing states like ours, it is very rational to submit that if the National Bureau of Statistics had depended on the ideal indicators of economic development like health, education, per capita income, security, empowerment, environment, and infrastructure for its report as used in advanced economies, the status of Ebonyi State under His Excellency, Engineer Chief David Nweze Umahi, FNSC FNATE, will have beaten all positive contemporary economic records. But since they depended on a sit-at-office computer survey on consumption expenditures by households and housing patterns which have no empirical formula for objective assessment, I want to assure them that in no distant time, they will witness a tremendous and overwhelming human transformation that cannot be faulted by even the laziest analysts. The governor of Ebonyi State, His Excellency, Engineer Chief David Nweze Umahi, FNSC FNATE, is not distracted in his determination to delist the state from the map of the third world states of the world which Africa belongs. Already, Ebonyi State is an emerging economy. Now, when you come to Ebonyi State, if you talk about human capital development and standard of living of the people, the state is making a great progress, courtesy of the administration of Engineer David Nweze Umahi. The governor is inspired by the mission to enhance the welfare of Ebonyi people and empower all Ebonyans to be self-reliant through the compassionate delivery of transparent and God-fearing governance based on integrity and dignity. In response to the wake-up call by World Bank and International Monetary Fund for the prioritization of human capital development, he is the first to create the Ministry of Human Capital Development. I can't remember any state that has such a ministry. He also established institutions that will enhance human development and sustain it beyond regimes. The Vocational College, King David Gifted Academy, the Agricultural Vocational Institute, and the Adult Education, which the governor established, are geared towards raising capacities and competencies of artisans, technicians, craftsmen, and entrepreneurs in order to lift the per capita income of the citizenry. The governor sees the empowerment of youths, women, widows, farmers, entrepreneurs, and indeed people of different shades of trades in the context of mental, financial, moral, psychological, and social empowerment, including efficacious nutrition to our pupils for the development of their brains. The governor has trained and empowered 3,000 youths and women through financial grants of 750 million naira. 4,300 widows with grants of 400,300,000, 400 tricycle worth over 260 million for the low-class youths and women. 520 Ebonyans hawking in Lagos received a total grant of 130 million naira. 140 Ebonyans in Onitsha received 140 tricycles. 403 wives of security officials received 80.6 million grants. Clergymen and women received 500.8 million grants to go into agriculture under second address scheme. Over 96 Sienna buses given to farmers free of charge for the evacuation of the agricultural produce. 4 billion facility to the civil servants in the state. Empowerment of 53,000 farmers annually. Empowerment of 140 autonomous communities with 10 million each. First state to go into